In this video, we'll give you 10 sneaky starts for week 6 of the fantasy football season. We're Jim Coventry and Anthony Cervino of RotoWire. All right, that quarterback. All right, this is low-hanging fruit. I get it. I'm sorry, but Kirk Cousins. He's not going to have another 500-yard, 5-touchdown game, but he didn't have a great first few weeks of the season. But what I want to point out is this. Kirk Cousins has gotten better chemistry with his pass catchers with each passing week. It appears he's getting a little more confidence in that Achilles each week. We've seen him lean on Drake London. The targets have just gone up, up, and up. It was like a few in the first week, then 6, then 9, then 12, then 13. So he's definitely knowing the lean on his alpha, but the matchup. They get the Panthers. No pass rush. Yeah, J.C. Horn's there. They have nobody else in the secondary. Now, it's possible they have success, the Falcons, running the ball, which could slow Cousins down, but he still has a high floor. But as much as they want to throw it, I don't see Carolina giving them any resistance here. Anthony, who do you got at quarterback?
Now, at quarterback, I have Daniel Jones. And Daniel Jones, in the past 4 games, he's gone over 20 fantasy points 3 times, including last week, a season-high 24.7 without Malik Neighbors in Seattle, and that's a tough defense. They were 11th against quarterbacks. You know, we're starting to see Daniel Jones play like he did about 2 years ago. I think a lot of it has to do with finally he has some protection and continuity on the offensive line. You get Cincinnati this week, and Cincinnati 28th against fantasy quarterbacks. They've been getting thrown on and gashed all season long. We could expect Malik Neighbors back, and this could be the biggest week that Daniel Jones has put up in a very long time. I am starting Daniel Jones, who, by the way, he's thrown for 2 touchdown passes in 3 of his past 4 games as well. So all in on this guy this week.
Daniel Jones as a riser. How about that? Let's move to running back. I'm going to go with Tank Bigsby of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, remember, Bigsby had a week 2 injury and missed the game. He was lightly used in his return in week 3. But in the other 3 games, week 1, week 4, and week 5, he has been significantly used. And in those 3 games, he's averaging 11 carries, 88 yards, and 2/3 of a touchdown. Now, his 8 yards per carry, that's not going to continue. Understand that. Small sample size. We saw with J.K. Dobbins for 2 weeks. But that said, the offensive line is not good in Jacksonville. Why is Bigsby successful as opposed to ETN? Bigsby is simply running hard, and that is getting him to the second level and allowing good things to happen, whereas ETN's looking for a hole that's not there, and it's a problem. So I do think Bigsby has a real role in this offense. Yes, 99th percentile broken tackle rate, 100th percentile after contact. It's not going to continue, but he still looks much, much, much better than he did last year. And that said, he's facing the Bears. Now, people hear the Bears and they think, oh man, bad matchup. The Bears are not a good run defense. They're allowing the 10th most fantasy points to running backs. The Bears are lights out against the pass, and they have good passers, but they can be run on. Anthony, who do you like at running back?
Yeah, running back, I'm going with Chase Brown. Now, Zach Moss dealing with an ankle injury. It's minor. Zach Moss is probably going to play, but I think we are seeing now the usage of Chase Brown, the Chase Brown we thought we were getting when we drafted him, in the late single-digit rounds in fantasy drafts. Back-to-back games, he's had at least 15 touches and 14 PPR points. He is getting a touch on 58% of the offensive snaps that he is playing, and he's being targeted on 28.6% of his routes. There's enough room in this backfield, enough offense to go around in Cincinnati. Like this Cincinnati defense, it is light years away from that defense they took to the Super Bowl, and they have to throw and they have to score points to stay in and win football games. The Giants aren't an easy matchup, but this is a high-octane Cincinnati offense. Chase Brown can catch the ball and beat you. He's had at least 3 targets in all but 1 game this season. And, he scored a touchdown in back-to-back games. So Chase Brown, if you need a running back, I don't mind using him this week as a sneaky play.
Hey, if you enjoy videos like this, please consider hitting the like button and subscribe to the RotoWire Fantasy Football channel on YouTube. Also, you can check out all of our fantasy football content and our rankings. Just get your free 2-day trial. No credit card needed. Go over to rotowire.com/Jim and check out all we have to offer. If you like it, join the team. If not, we're just glad you took a look. Wide receivers. Look, I'm going to keep going with Ray McCloud. Ray McCloud is a high floor PPR play. Maybe not a lot of a ceiling, but again, he could always find the end zone and even find some ceiling. He is playing almost every snap as the Falcons are a base 3 receiver team. The average for McCloud, 6 targets, 4 catches, 45 yards, and he I think week 1 it was down. Other than that, he's always been stable. The matchup this week. So Carolina has J.C. Horn on one outside. They have nothing else. There's going to be plenty of opportunities. Again, maybe the Falcons run more than usual if they get out to a lead, but if they pass it all, McCloud is in great shape here. Anthony, who do you like at wide receiver?
Now, I love Jalen Tolbert this week. Last week as a full-time player in 2 wide sets, no Brandon Cooks, he's on IR. Jalen Tolbert over 20 PPR points, 7 of 10 targets, 87 yards and a touchdown. But Jalen Tolbert, if you paid attention, in weeks 2 and 3, he put up 13 PPR points and had a 5 and a 9 target game. And he's playing a lot of snaps. The Cowboys play a lot of 3 wide sets, and Tolbert is the clear starter in those 3 wide sets when Cooks is still healthy. Now as a full-time player, I think there's a good chance that Jalen Tolbert can take over this number 2 role. And this week, he gets the Detroit Lions. This is the easiest matchup on paper that Dallas will have played to date. The Lions have given up double-digit PPR points to 8 different wide receivers this season. This is extremely high point total. Last time I checked, over 50-point total in this one. And this isn't the Steelers or Giants offenses. Dallas's defense has looked good the past 2 games. They're going to have to throw the football to keep up with the Lions. I'm in on Jalen Tolbert.
At tight end, I'm going with Cade Otton of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Otton was really lightly used the first 2 weeks, but in the last 3 weeks, his role has grown significantly. In those 3 games, Otton is averaging 5 catches, 7 targets. His yardage has been very stable between 44 and 52. Again, not a ceiling play, but at tight end, a floor of something is a floor. He's facing the Saints this week. The Saints might be able to get a little pressure on Baker Mayfield. If they do, we could see Otton as an escape artist for him. Remember, Mike Evans will be locked up with Marshawn Lattimore. That history has often been a little bit rough for Mike Evans. So if the ball has to go elsewhere, we could see another heavy volume game for Otton. And remember, the Saints give up the 11th most fantasy points to opposing tight ends, so they will give up some production there. Anthony, who do you like at tight end?
At tight end, I'm going to go with Zach Ertz. This is a pure matchup play. Ertz only had 1 game with double-digit PPR points back in week 2, but he is still getting a little bit of volume. Now, last week he had 8 targets, didn't do much with them against Cleveland, but Cleveland was one of the better defenses at containing tight ends. Baltimore is 30th. A lot of tight ends have had success against them, and as good as Jaden Daniels in this Washington offense has been, they're not going to be able to run the football. I think they're going to, for the first time this season, they're going to be stifled, and they might have to throw a little bit more to move the chains. And Zach Ertz is one of the better chain movers when it comes to pass catchers on his football team.
All right, let's go to our wild card picks. I'm going to use a wide receiver for my wild card pick, Anthony. I'm going to go to Xavier Hutchinson of the Houston Texans. Unfortunately, Nico Collins was placed on the injured reserve on Wednesday. So who takes over his role? Some people will say Robert Woods. Well, remember this. When Tank Dell was out earlier in the season, it was Robert Woods playing 70% of the snaps. When Nico Collins left last week's game early, it was Xavier Hutchinson playing 71% of the snaps. So what does that teach me? That teaches me that Woods is the direct replacement for Dell. Hutchinson is the direct replacement for Collins. Hutchinson is not Nico Collins. He's not getting you Nico Collins productions. But that X receiver is a very important function in Bobby Slowick's offense and an important setup for the reads for CJ Stroud. Now, you need a big receiver at that position. Well, at least Hutchinson's got you there, 6'3", 205. The weight's not great, but he is a bigger receiver. Last week in that limited work, just jumping in cold, 2 catches, 31 yards on 3 targets. They're playing New England. I don't think there's any world where they're going to put Christian Gonzalez on Hutchinson and say, we got to take him out. I think they will use that resource on either Dell or maybe even Stephon Diggs. I think Hutchinson is a great sneaky play this week. Anthony, who's your wild card?
My wild card is Roschon Johnson. 3 straight games, he's either caught 4 passes for 32 yards or scored a touchdown. He scored the touchdowns now in back-to-back games. 10 PPR points in 2 out of those 3 games as well. And what's the common denominator? These are all cake matchups. They got Indy, Rams, Carolina, all bottom 8 teams when it comes to fantasy points allowed to running backs. Now you get the Jaguars. They are 29th. There is a lot of room for both DeAndre Swift and Roschon Johnson to get some fantasy success. Enjoy it while it lasts, because those running matchups gets a little bit harder. But at least for this week, we're starting Roschon Johnson in the flex.